action. I remember way back, you ain't have no swag. You did a little research, now you got a moon bag. Now you got a new walk, now you got new swag. You did a little research, now you got a moon bag.
So ladies and gentlemen, with digital assets, we hodl and we trade. And when we do hodl, we make sure it's on a cold storage wallet so we have full access to our funds and no one else. Okay, you're talking about the DCENT wallet here. The link is in the description. The most easy and safe hardware wallet, enhanced crypto protection built on the highest security standards. All right, now, blockchain monkeys, real quick. I had to bring this to you. This is coming in hot from Crypto Airy. Okay, we have here a quote from Mr. Swartz himself. XRP has a privileged position. The network finds the cheapest path. That might be through XRP, and it might not. Take a listen here. We got Bitcoins and gravy coming in hot, hitting you with this heat regarding XRP.
David is the chief cryptographer at Ripple Labs and one of the architects of the Ripple protocol. David, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here, John. Well, for people who understand Bitcoin, a simple way to understand Ripple is very much like Bitcoin, except that it can allow you to move any currency or any asset.
Okay.
So it's a distributed payment system. It doesn't require any central authority, but it can move any asset. So dollars, it can move cross-currency, cross-border.
Okay.
It's essentially targeted at use cases like cross-border payments, correspondent banking, those kinds of things.
Okay.
Ripple was designed from the very beginning to handle multiple assets. And so it has things like order book.
Are you getting this, ladies and gentlemen? We are talking about the bridge.
And Forex implemented natively. It has atomic payments so that you can use a longer path without having to worry about an intermediary
It's already built inside the protocol.
failing to perform. So it was specifically built to solve the issues that exist in cross-currency and cross-border payments. In fact, one of the major use cases for the Ripple network right now is moving Bitcoins around because it provides faster settlement. So if you believe in Bitcoin as a currency, Ripple is a good way to move that currency around. It's not a competitor. So it happens automatically when you make a payment. The network finds the cheapest path. That might be through XRP, it might not. It could be through US dollars, it could be through Bitcoin. There could be multiple paths that you draw from so that you get the very best.
Do you hear the way the chief cryptographer at Ripple, Mr. Swartz, breaks things down for you? This is so easy to understand, a baby can do it.
Offers on multiple order books. So you wouldn't be consciously aware unless you really drilled into what was happening behind the scenes. You wouldn't necessarily be consciously aware of what intermediary currencies you held for a notional split second. But because XRP can flow between any two accounts and is trustless, it has a privileged position inside the Ripple network that could cause it to be preferred as an intermediary currency.
I see.
If that happens, demand will go up.
I see. Well, if it doesn't happen,
it certainly might not. It could be that, for example, the Federal Reserve decides to issue dollars directly onto the Ripple network, and everybody thinks that's the perfect intermediary currency. And then XRP doesn't get that kind of role, in which case you would not see that increase in demand.
I see. Is it possible that just as the USD is the reserve currency of the world right now, against what a lot of people would like to see, is it possible that the USD could eventually be the reserve currency of the Ripple protocol, Ripple network?
It's certainly possible. You could also see another government, any country could do this, introducing, let's say, gold, 100% reserve-backed gold on the Ripple network, and people might decide, ooh, that's what I want to use as my reserve currency because maybe the government of China, let's say, does that and people trust them. There's certainly any number of ways this could play out. To some extent, Ripple Labs has bet on XRP. Ripple Labs holds an enormous number of XRP, and our primary business model is that they'll appreciate in the future. But of course, there's no guarantee.
I see. So now that concept that the US dollar could be the reserve currency of Ripple, of course, you know that people hearing this show and hearing that, if they've not heard that before, talk about ripples. Right? Talk about ripples going out. That's going to cause a lot of people to be afraid and to think, wow, we don't want Ripple because the U.S. government, I'm sure now, since they heard this episode of Bitcoins and Gravy, they're onto it for the first time. They're slow, they're sleeping usually. Now they're going to work as hard as they can to get the U.S. dollar to be the reserve currency of Ripple. We're back to the same place we were before Ripple and Bitcoin and all of this. What do you say to someone like that?
Well, they have to compete in a fair playing field. So the intermediary currency could be the U.S. dollar, and you can still hold whatever currency you want. You can hold Bitcoin, you can hold Ripples, and that would just be where the liquidity is. And they would have to compete on a completely fair playing field.
We will be all on a level playing field.
don't choose intermediary currencies. They just make payments with the cheapest path they can find. So it's going to be competitive, just like it is outside the Ripple network, except people will be able to move more easily between currencies. So if one currency has a small advantage that only affects a narrow group of people, they can still hold that currency without having the large cost that they would normally have to bear from making a different choice. So it does enable more freedom of choice with currency. And in that kind of market, it remains to be seen what will be the preferred currency. It could be Bitcoins.
Why aren't people just using this all the time? It seems like this is, if you're talking about it being that quick and that cheap and that flexible, it just seems like a no-brainer to me.
It is. You need three pieces for it to work. The person who's making the payment needs an easy way to get cash in. The person who's receiving the payment needs an easy way to get cash out, and someone has to provide the liquidity between the two assets if they're not the same asset. And so we're working on building up those pieces. And when you have the right pieces, a remittance pathway will emerge even without somebody, having to do anything special to make it happen.
Not financial advice whatsoever, but it's very simple. Just do the research. And then go research the research that you just researched. And then you buy.
Cause it's the standard in this bitch. XRP. I went to YouTube University, and now they mocking me with no degree. We saying by the swift, keep it walking. Respecting elders in these bushes. Bitcoin is talking.
You don't have to be rich to be taking advantage of this. This was the beginning of the greatest transformation of wealth the world has ever fucking seen since World War II.
Blockchain. We talking about an intellectual choo-choo train. It's DLT up in these streets, man. That's why we rip all on that blockchain.